they woke me up out of the coma, and I saw her. We hugged, kissed, and she was talking to me, but I wasn't able to talk yet. I couldn't form. She said, "Hi, honey, I love you," and I couldn't say I love you back.
This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
I don't know if you can. I can pull this back a little bit. So if right around here, you can see all the scars, but it was like right at the top. So it was like if I was a little shorter, it would have probably skimmed the top of my head.
If you're a little taller.
Right, it would have hit me in the neck.
Yeah.
And I always think about what could have been.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda, right?
One little misstep or one different thing that could have happened differently, I'd be dead, or I'd be stuck in a bed as a vegetable or something.
I'm surprised you didn't hear it, because the amount of force to break a skull is amazing. And I know it broke your skull.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't hear it, like, because you were awake and you were conscious during all this.
Yeah, I got hit. I felt that part, but I didn't know it was like I got hit in the head. I just fell backwards. My partner, he said he heard me like go ooh like that. Like he heard me get hit, and then because he took off running after the suspects, he returned fire, and once he lost sight of him, he took off after them to see where they ran, and then he came back for me to check on me.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it before too. Audio exclusion. When you're in that fight, your hearing shuts down.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's why you didn't hear.
That's the funniest thing in the world, because I experienced that as well.
Yeah, so did I.
In my shooting. You're in the range qualifying twice a year. And every once in a while, I used to just lift my ears up just to get a taste of the bang. You want to see what it's like, and it rings your ears.
Or if another team's on the line and you guys are sitting by the break table or something, and they start going live, and
you son of a bitch, tell me that.
But when you're involved in it, during my shooting, my shots sound like this.
Yeah, I didn't hear any ringing in my ears, no tinnitus, no nothing.
Oh, really? Yeah, it seems like mine was heightened.
Yeah, I didn't hear any of it.
They say that certain senses get heightened. Usually your ears shut down and your eyesight gets heightened.
Yeah. And the doctors, they don't understand. Like, nobody can explain why I was still conscious and how I'm able to remember such minute details so vividly. And like I told this story before I heard anything. I didn't know. I didn't talk to anybody before I was telling the story. I just went into the first time actually I told it was to the prosecutor's office when they interviewed me for the trial.
So how much surgery did you have to go through before you're going to maintain your life?
Oh man, I mean, I went through the initial surgery that night where they removed this whole right half of my skull from here all the way back to back here. The whole entire skull was removed.
I saw a picture of you with a hat on, and you could see the indent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually, I mean, I got pictures on my one Instagram that shows it's actually, my head was scalloped.
There was a news reporter that used to go on TV. He got hit with an IED in one of these places, and he lost half his, same thing, kind of lost half his skull, but he used to go on TV like that before he got it fixed.
Wow.
Yeah.
I used to have to wear a helmet, and I can't believe he would walk around without a helmet. Because I had to wear a helmet.
Yeah, I saw you when you came out of the hospital, yeah.
Whenever I was out of a seated or laying down position, I would have to wear this helmet because nothing was protecting my brain. I used to be able to push on my brain, and when my wife would
push on your brain, your leg move?
No, my dick would get hard. No, just kidding.
Honey, press this button right here.
Yeah. Called it the V button. But anytime I'd get my hair cut, the clippers, when they would cut here softly, the clippers would vibrate my brain, and I could feel my eyeballs vibrating too.
Holy cow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was insane.
So how long did you have to live like that with missing half your skull?
6.5 months.
And what was the reason that they waited so long?
Swelling?
Yeah.
Swelling. Okay.
Because I had a ton of swelling. And what else? I think it's most of the swelling to make sure everything was
Now, before we get into any of your recovery, tell me about the suspects. Tell me about these pieces of garbage.
All right, so they actually weren't even from the city. They were from, I believe, like Camden or what the hell's around there, like Millville, like it was this. It was near Camden. They were from that area. I forget Bridgeton. They were from Bridgeton area.
From Bridgeton.
Yeah.
But Bridgeton always used to be a pretty nice area.
And they apparently not.
Yeah, I guess it changed.
They came to the city specifically to rob somebody. And like Atlantic City goes through different phases where one gang is in power for a while. The department does their investigation. They arrest a big group of them. They're out. Then somebody else tries to move in. It's like a power. Everybody's always struggling for the power of controlling the drug trade there. So these Philly and Camden guys would always come to the city to rob the AC guys or kill them or whatever. It was back and forth. So they came to the city specifically to rob an AC drug dealer.
Well, it's got to be like shooting fish in a barrel. You hope you hope the guy you're robbing is won that night and he's walking out with a ton of cash on him.
Yeah. And these guys they were smart. They approached the victims and asked them, we want to buy some weed. And they were going to do the deal, but then the suspects wanted more. They're like, nah, we want like an ounce. Because they were going to rob and kill them for the ounce, as drug dealers do. And, they stalked them all night. They have them on camera, on surveillance, like stalking the victims for a while that night. And then they finally got them in that alleyway and pulled them in. And
then up you come.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just passing by.
Did they finally catch him? Obviously they did. I know they did, but
yeah. So there was 3. The initial shooter, he died that night. My partner shot and killed him, and then the other 2, they ran. They got on the train back to like Camden, Bridgeton area.
Your partner. So your partner. Let's do an after action report on what your partner has gone through this night. Mm-hmm. Shot and killed, which carries legal ramifications and mental ramifications on down the line. Seeing his partner clinging to life, right? And your partner, you take a bit of responsibility for your partner's well-being when you're on the road.
Absolutely,
it's a brotherhood.
Yes,
your partner's your brother. He's and now you I'm sure you knew his family and everything else.
Absolutely, yeah.
You don't want to let down the family. You don't want to be the one knocking on the door and saying, guess what?
And I'm certainly not discounting the fact that you got shot in the head that night, but the pressure that he was under, I can't deny that at all.
Absolutely not. And I couldn't fathom the roles reversed.
And for him to have the wherewithal to engage and then come back and help him and get him to the hospital with a clear head.
I got to see if I could find the shot spotter from that night, and then you guys will understand how fast he was shooting. He, dumped the mag, combat reload, and started shooting more.
Your partner?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we always rehearsed. That was 2016. That was a couple months after the Dallas 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I had come back to work from an injury, and it was a new department. After the Dallas 5, they started pairing us up in cars, and that's why I chose Tommy as my partner, because I was familiar with him. I knew he had his shit together. And we always rehearsed. Every time we'd get in the car, I'd be like, yo, Tommy, what do we do if one of us goes down? And we came up with the plan is just fucking fire every round you have until the threat stopped. So, just dump them. We always rehearsed it every single night, and Tommy stuck with the plan. He just dumped his mags, and Tommy didn't know the suspect was hit because the dude was hopped up on PCP. So he took a round in the upper back, which nicked his aorta or something. He was able to run another block and a half. He ran into the...
Wait, he ran a block and a half with a nicked aorta?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
PCP in bed, guys.
Yep.
Holy cow.
He actually ran into the casino parking garage, stole a golf cart, drove around the garage trying to get out of the garage with the golf cart, couldn't find the exit, so he hopped over the wall onto Pacific Avenue, which isn't that far of a hop. Gets on the Pacific Avenue, runs up to a car that's waiting at a red light, tries to carjack a woman at gunpoint. She takes off through the light, and then he runs another half a block and collapses in the bushes and bled out.
Wow. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing. I've seen officers get minor gunshot wounds, fingers, hands, stuff like this, and bleed out, and they'll die.
Yeah.
These guys, they got a nicked aorta, and he's running around for another 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's messed up.
Yeah, I know. They're just made out of rubber.
Yeah.
They really are. But you have a very long road ahead of you after you finally get stabilized.
Yeah.
How long were you in the hospital?
So I was in a coma they put me in a medically induced coma.
Did they at least shave the rest of your balls?
Nah, they let that shit grow. It's terrible.
You walked out of the hospital like this,
Yep. Got an afro, bro.
half fro.
There you go. That's a good one. I think I was that was the third. So I was in the hospital for 12 days, in ICU for 12 days before they stabilized me enough to be comfortable that I could be moved to a rehabilitation facility. And the crazy thing about being in that coma was I could hear things going on around me.
Oh, don't tell me this, please. This is like my worst nightmare.
Yeah, and I didn't know, it wasn't specific. I didn't know what was being said. I could hear it, and I was, what do you call it? I was, I can't think of the word. I was, like turning it into my own thoughts. So I was having dreams. If somebody was in a room talking about, let's say it was, a couple of my boys, like, damn, we were just at the bar with him drinking, and here he is now. I was having a dream that I was with my boys at the bar having drinks.
All this just running through your mind as you're in a coma.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you went through your medical training? And do you remember them telling you, do not say anything over somebody who you think is dead?
Yeah. When you're doing CPR on someone,
do not say anything.
they'll remember it.
Yep. And that's the same line right now.
Yeah.
Now here's something that's going to be heartbreaking for everybody. When's the first time you were able to contact your wife?
So she was actually there.
Yeah, but you got to speak with her before you were put into the coma?
Oh, no.
No.
Nope. I didn't see her until they brought me out of the coma.
Do you know how they told your wife?
Yeah.
She told you. I'm
Yeah.
assuming she said this to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about this whole story is my wife, I was in a bad place at that time. I was out a lot drinking with the boys because I was trying to get it in before the baby came, because I knew once the baby was there, it was over. So I was hitting it hard, and she was mad at me because I was always out, and she was having these dreams that I wasn't going to be at the birth, that something was going to happen to me. And then she was thinking that it was going to be because I was drinking. Maybe I'd leave the bar drunk and get into an accident. And that's why I wasn't going to be at the birth. And she dreamt that, they went to the house and told her. And also, I dreamt that evening before, I dreamt that I was shot, that I had gotten to a shooting. And I remember waking up terrified. I told her, I was like, I just had a dream, a nightmare that I got shot. I got to call and tell Tommy. But I never got a chance to call and tell Tommy. And so when I left for work that night, she went to sleep. I spoke to her one more time before. She's like, I'm getting tired. I'm going to go to bed. I'm like, all right, I'll see you in the morning, babe. Love you. And we hung up, and that was it. And she woke up to a knock. A friend of ours at the time, she was a coworker of mine. She called my wife. She's like, can you come downstairs? She's like, for what? She's like, I'm out front. And my wife wasn't thinking that she was going to get told that I was shot. She was thinking, because our two friends were out at a restaurant, she thought maybe her husband and her and her husband had gotten into a fight. So the wife, my coworker, came to talk with my wife. And when she opened the front door, she said she just saw patrol cars and a sea of cops. And the first thing she said, she asked them was, is he alive? Because she just had that feeling. She knew. She knew when she was coming down the stairs of our house that this is what she was about to be told. Yeah. So when she opened the door, she's like, is he alive? And they're like, yeah, but we have to go right now. So they put her in the car, patrol car, and rushed her to the hospital. And when they got to the hospital, and I credit my wife with being way tougher than I am. She was 9 months pregnant. They get her to the hospital. They tell her, I'm in surgery. The neurosurgeon will be out shortly to speak to you. And she's in the medical field, so she's thinking, the neurosurgeon, like, what the hell? She didn't know I was shot until she thought maybe car accident. And when she heard neurosurgeon, she's like thinking, like, did I hurt my spine or something? Am I paralyzed? And then when she spoke to the surgeon, he told her flat out, your husband was shot in the head. I'm sorry, I did everything I could. I don't know if we don't know if he's gonna make it. And I just found this out not too long ago that she dropped to her knees when she heard that.
Surprised she didn't go into birth right there.
And that's
Or go into labor, I
and
should
this
say.
is where this is why I credit her with being tougher than me, because she kept her composure, made sure the baby stayed safe, made sure I got the best care I could have gotten, and was also dealing with our other two daughters being at home while not knowing if her husband is going to survive.
Well, that was always my fear during my shooting. You know, and when I in 2013, I never carried my cell phone with me when I was doing a job. It was always in the car. I wasn't one of those guys, you know, it was a flip phone. I didn't really care about it. And so my incident over the course of 2 hours that we were this guy was barricaded. I get into the ambulance. When I finally do, first person I call is my wife, because I'm afraid of that situation where somebody heard something.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're going to call and say there was a shooting in town. Is your husband working? She's going to say yes. She's going to try to call my cell phone, and I'm not picking up.
Yeah.
I called my wife 7 minutes after the shooting. 7 minutes after the shooting, because I know the grapevine. You know, there's been a shooting, Mike's involved, and they tell you after you're involved in a shooting, you have to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
So I was waiting for someone to call and say, there's been a shooting, Mike's going to the hospital.
Right.
So I called her on the phone real quick. She came up to the scene that night.
Yeah, that's
But I fully manscaped that night, so I was all right.
Lucky. See, somebody always has the better.
the people who are at home, whether you're a female officer or a male officer, it doesn't matter. The people at home, the pressure that they take, I can hardly imagine what they go through. You walk out the door to go to work, normal day,
Yep.
and there is not a guarantee you're coming home.
No.
You know, there's a high percentage that you're coming home, but there's not a guarantee.
Yeah.
And they got to live with that.
Absolutely.
Every shift.
The crazy thing is too, like, I always think it's not just, you know, police officers or first responders. That's just anybody in life. You know, that's the
Get into a
biggest
car accident going to work.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing where I feel like people don't appreciate that you're not guaranteed to come home the moment you walk out your front door.
You're right. You're
And it's a
100%.
blessing just to come
in
home.
any field. I mean, look at this, the football player, that DeMar Hamlin.
Yeah,
But he almost died right on the field that night.
exactly.
You never expect that.
It could be just a regular person. You know, doesn't matter who you are. You could go to 7-Eleven or Wawa or whatever, but whatever it may be, and you don't come home that night.
Now, your first conversation with your wife, when you were able to, you want to let us in on that one?
Yeah, they woke me up out of the coma, and I saw her. We hugged, kissed, and she was talking to me, but I wasn't able to talk yet. I couldn't form. She said, you know, "Hi, honey, I love you," and I couldn't say I love you back. Like, I just, like, mumbled it, and she's like, "You love me?" And I was like, "I do," and I put my hand up for a high five. Like, I wanted to high five her to let her know I was okay. And, you know, we talked a little bit, but I really don't remember specifically because I was in and out of consciousness because they had me doped up on so many pain meds.
And the funny thing about pain meds, too, is that your emotions get the better of you.
Yeah.
You know,
without doubt.
when you're on those pain meds, you cry real easy. And first, I don't know what it is. I've experienced it. It's not fun.
Yeah, I don't remember if I cried. I was just really aggressive.
Okay.
Like, I was still in fight mode.
And you spend all this time in the hospital. Obviously, was your daughter born while you were in the hospital?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
she was born about a little less than 2 weeks later. Over 2 weeks, I'm sorry.
And can you give us that daughter's first name?
Lucy.
Lucy.
Yeah.
That's Lucy. Okay.
But we didn't know.
That wasn't after the elephant. Right?
No,
Okay.
absolutely not.
Good.
Her middle name's not Gunshot, is it?
No, I pushed for that, but my wife, she didn't listen.
It's better than what I was going to name my kid. Either asshole or Slobodan, one or the other. You spend all this time in a rehab facility. I'm assuming you had to learn how to walk, how to talk, how to communicate.
Yeah, had to do. It's basically like a reset button on life. I had to learn how to do
Read, write, everything.
Everything. Yeah. Simple as just brushing my teeth and getting dressed and using the restroom.
Did you ever lose hope during this time?
A ton.
Yeah.
All the time. I was angry at life. I was remember thinking like, why me?
Why me? Yeah.
Like, why didn't I like? I don't want to live like this. I remember thinking like, why didn't I just die? I was mad at my partner for a little bit. Like, why the fuck did he save my life? Like, I was just angry at everybody, including myself, mostly myself.
How did you cope with that?
I just thought about my family, my friends, and everyone that was back home that was supporting me. There were strangers that I didn't know were raising money to help my family. Their kids were from the local gymnastics gym by where I live, had a fundraising event where it was like they were doing push-ups against cops, and just there were people that didn't know me from a can of paint holding fundraising events to help my family because they supported the cops. And this was, as I said, right after Dallas 5. So I was just seeing hate all the time.
Yeah.
Getting called names, getting spit on. So I didn't think nobody liked the police. And they always say there's that silent majority, and I saw it for sure after my shooting.
Now, you're in the rehab facility for how long?
2.5 months.
So 2.5 months going through all this range of emotions, of being angry, of wishing that you would have not survived the shooting, and if with our stuff we survived unscathed physically, and we were left to our own devices, and we at least had the ability to go out and drown it in alcohol. Mm-hmm. You didn't even have that.
No.
You just have to sit in a room watching reruns of Friends
Right.
over and over again.
That's what I do every day.
Yeah,
It
wasn't that bad. But actually, I asked my wife to bring me headphones, and I got lost in music. And I remember even I can't rap, but I remember being doped up on, I think it was fentanyl or whatever. And I just came up with a rap. I was talking to my boys on my phone, and I rapped some crazy freestyle. And they're like, dude, where the hell did you come up with that? I was like, I don't know, just like it just flowed out. That was impressive. And just my solace not only was music, but thinking about my family. I wanted to be an example. I got out of the victim mindset, and I've always been a fighter. So it was just another fight.
And now you got a hell of a fight on your hand.
Yeah.
I was going to say too, how frustrating was it to go through rehab too, trying to do things that you used to do second nature.
That's the one thing they don't have at 3 Acres. 3 Acres is one of our sponsors. 3 Acres luxury condominiums in Jersey City.
Okay.
They have everything else, but they don't have a rehab facility.
Hey, listen, maybe they'll get one there.
Yeah, now that we bring it up, maybe they will, because that would be more accommodations that would suit your heroism, your ability to move forward and fight. Accommodations in rehab facilities usually aren't. It's not a 5-star hotel. You're there to heal.
Absolutely.
But it should be.
Right.
You should get the best beds. You should get the best care.
I did. My wife, credit to her again. She's like a pit bull. She fought workers' comp because, believe it or not, I don't know if this is going to shock you guys. Good thing you're sitting down. Workers' comp didn't want to pay for anything.
Of course not.
They didn't want to send me to the facility I ended up going to. My wife had to fight with them, and they were like, "No, we're not going to do it." She's like, "All right, fine. I'm going to go to the media and let them know how you're being." And as soon as she said that, like, "Oh yeah, whatever he wants."
It should be whatever you
exactly.
Almost lost your life while doing your job.
Yeah.
Protecting somebody.
And even the guys that took over the state, the state guys that took over the city, the state takeover, they even threw it in the PBA's face that they were paying me still. They're like, you damn well should keep paying him.
Exactly.
He got shot in the head. Like they were like, when it was through contract negotiations, they're like, hey, listen, we're paying for your officer who was shot. And they're like, why even bring that up?
Yeah, exactly.
God,
These people suck.
So your wife is a brilliant person, because being an officer in your situation, you have an enormous amount of power through the media. A hero in blue gets shot, and somebody doesn't want to take care of the aftermath.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
So when you come out and you see daylight and you're wheeled out, I've seen the pictures.
Coming out of the hospital.
Yeah, you see that daylight. Should have went to the Grand Saloon. She really should have went to the Grand Saloon. Grand Saloon takes care of us as one of our sponsors, but 940 Van Houten Avenue, they love their police there, they love their military, they love the first responders. But what did you do the first
So
coming
they
out?
they prepared me for leaving the hospital, and the craziest thing about leaving was I thought I was in my basement at home. Like I thought they brought the hospital bed into my basement at home, and they were gonna take. Because I remember thinking, how the hell are they gonna get this hospital bed up my stairs?
How'd they get it down here in the first place?
Yeah, because they were like, we're getting ready to go. The ambulance is here, getting ready to take you. And I'm thinking, like, how the hell are they gonna get me out? Like, where are they fitting the ambulance on the street? And when they brought me out, I just saw daylight, and I heard cheering and clapping.
I've seen the video. I remember seeing the video when it was happening.
Really?
Yeah, it was on Facebook or one of those.
Yeah, I couldn't believe I had that much support, that there was that many people. I just remember seeing a sea of people clapping and cheering me on. And the only thing I could think to do was, salute and give a thumbs up.
Could you talk at this point?
Yeah, a little bit, but not loud. And there were so many people, I was overwhelmed. I just remember, all right, let me salute, basically saying thank you, and give a thumbs up to let everybody know that I'm still in the fucking fight.
Yeah,
Now
that
you
means a lot.
now you go home, and is there still a lot of attention on you when you get home?
Well, that was when I was going to the rehab
Oh,
facility.
when you got out of the hospital to the rehab
Yeah,
facility.
and when they got me in the ambulance, I cried because I was so overwhelmed with the amount of support. As soon as those doors closed, I bawled my eyes out.
I'm surprised you weren't crying even going through it, because I know I would be.
I was too angry. I was just in that fight mode to cry. I just wanted to keep pushing forward. So when I got home,
And when you got out of the rehab
I
facility,
got
you
out.
finally get home. I'm assuming you've seen your newborn daughter at this point. See your children,
yeah, my wife had brought them up to visit me at the rehab facility.
That was when I'm sure your wife had to tell your daughters what was going on. Like, how was that for her? That had to be tough.
She said
I mean,
that
how old were your daughters, if you don't mind me asking, at that point?
they were. Well, let me think about this. They were 5 and 7.
Too young to really understand.
Yeah, and my wife, that was one of the things she said she was going through her head was how is she going to tell our daughters that I was dead, when they told her that I wasn't going to make it. And we didn't tell our kids, that I was shot in the head until I came home and I was safe. My wife told them that I was chasing a bad guy and I tripped and I fell and I hit my head. And my middle daughter, she is very intuitive. I remember her looking at me because I had half my head missing. She would looking at me, and I could see the gears turning in her head. And she's like, "Daddy, when you fell, did you fall on a pointy rock? Is that why your head's pushed in like that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, exactly. That's what happened. Daddy tripped and fell on a pointy rock, and it pushed my head in." And she's like, "It's gonna pop back out, right? Like a water bottle?" And I'm like, "Yeah, honey, it's gonna pop back out eventually."
Sooner or later.
Yeah.
Takes time.
And it wasn't until I came home and they knew I was home safe that we sat them down and told them together. So I wanted them to know the actual power that guns have.